stop perceiving politics as this like game where different teams are winning and losing. Try to analyze it a little bit deeply, deeper than that. Okay, scratch the surface of your way of thinking and ask yourself, why am I operating with this like idiotic like partisan posture? Here is Marco Rubio, the Secretary of State, trying to do a cleanup job after yesterday's incident where he haphazardly threw together a narrative so bad that the overwhelming majority of Republicans that heard it went, wait a minute, maybe Jews do control America. Literally. Like, he came out and was like, Benjamin Netanyahu urged us to do this. He forced our hand into doing this. And then literally Matt Walsh and numerous other fucking Republicans came out and were like, okay, I guess Zog is not even a theory anymore. It's just reality. Meanwhile, you motherfuckers are talking about like, oh, you're losing the narrative. Now he's going to backtrack. Let's hear.
Can never have a nuclear weapon, and we will now not allow Iran to hide behind the ability to make them or launch them. And so CENTCOM, in a joint operations, is carrying out a systematic destruction of their missile belt, destruction of their launchers, and destruction of their ability to make these, as well as the destruction of their Navy. From what I've been told by the Department of War, everything is on or ahead of schedule and proceeding on these objectives. We have every confidence in the world that these objectives will be achieved. The last point I would make is, and I said this yesterday and I repeat, what's about to, you're about to see, we're going to unleash Chang on these people in the next few hours and days. You're going to really begin to perceive a change in the scope and in the intensity of these attacks as, frankly, the two most powerful air forces in the world take apart this terroristic regime and defang it and take away its ability to threaten its neighbors or hide behind a zone of immunity that allows them to develop their nuclear ambitions. This terroristic, radical, cleric-led regime cannot be ever allowed to have nuclear weapons. We saw what they were willing to do to their own people. They were willing to slaughter their own people in the streets. Imagine what they would do to us. Imagine what they would do to others. Under President Trump, that will never, ever happen. All right?
Yesterday you talked about Israel. Mr. Secretary.
Please, guys, I can't hear them all. Yes.
Yesterday, you told us that Israel was going to strike Iran, and that's why we needed to get involved. Today, the president said that Iran was going to get.
Yeah, your statement is false. So that's not what I was asked very specifically. Were you there yesterday?
Yes, I asked
okay.
a question.
No, were you the one that? Because somebody asked me a question yesterday. Did we go in because of Israel? And I said, you were asking me that follow-up, and I said no. I told you this had to happen anyway. The president made a decision, and the decision he made was that Iran was not going to be allowed to hide behind its ballistic missile program. That Iran was not going to be allowed to hide behind its ability to conduct these attacks.
Marco,
that decision had been made.
Can't put the toothpaste back in the tube, brother. Can't put the toothpaste back in the tube. People already had this suspicion. You leaned into it very publicly, and now everything you say after that is going to look like a shitty cleanup job. Good job.
Made a decision that negotiations were not going to work, that they were playing us on the negotiations, and that this was a threat that was untenable. The decision was made to strike them. That's what I said yesterday, and you guys need to play it. And if you're going to play these statements, you need to play the whole statement, not clip it to reach a narrative that you want to do, all right?
This is your statement. This is your statement, Mr. Secretary.
Go ahead.
What do you make of the War Powers resolution that's being considered here in Congress?
I mean, Congress votes on those. They can if they want. There's mechanisms for it. We've complied with the War Powers Act, even though we believe it's unconstitutional, as has every other administration. Every other president has found the War Powers Act to be unconstitutional. Nonetheless, we notified Gang of Eight, which was an appropriate mechanism by which to notify Congress. We sent the notification within 48 hours, the way the law requires. I'm here today.
Hassan, why are they saying the missile that killed the little girls is IRGC themselves and propaganda? Why do you think, brother? Isn't it crazy that Israel has blown up every fucking school, every mosque, and every hospital in Gaza? And then in the aftermath, when people even gave a fuck about that sort of thing, they would consistently say, oh, actually, it must have been a Hamas rocket. Must have been a Palestinian Islamic Jihad rocket. It's bullshit. They blow it up, and then when people get mad at them because they killed a bunch of little schoolgirls, they go, oh, it must have been the Iranian rocket itself. Like, shut the fuck up.
If a country closes their
you
airport,
are the dumbest person on the planet if you believe that bullshit.
So the airport in Kuwait was hit. So if an airport's been attacked or the airspace is closed, then we can have the planes lined up to go, but we can't get them to land because we don't have the permissions to land there. So that's the challenge. But rest assured, we are confident that we are going to be able to assist every American.
By the way, this is basically an admission of Iranian success.
A little over 1,500 maybe closer to 1,600 Americans.
It's Al Ahly all over again? No, it's not. No one believes it. The overwhelming majority of people don't even believe it.
Airspace closures. That said, there may be more people out there that need help. We need to know who you are. So please, I'm asking the media, publicize the phone numbers and the website, because we need people to call in so we have their name, we have their contact information,
Doesn't seem like the situation's good. Doesn't seem like the situation's under control, does it?
We can act very quickly to reach them and get them out of harm's way.
Kind of feels like it's fucked, doesn't it? Kind of feels like the situation is totally fucked, don't you think? Why is the literal Secretary of State panicking like this on fucking camera in real time?
Yeah, no, I understand. But listen, all right, let me understand. Yeah, but I had a very specific question from that gentleman, right?
Holy fuck, this is so bad.
Hold on 1 second. I asked Okay, but let me answer, because this is my press conference. Okay. You asked me, I was asked a very specific question, so you guys can misrepresent it, but I was asked a very specific question yesterday. The bottom line is this. The president determined we were not going to get hit first. It's that simple, guys. We are not going to put Americans' troops in harm's way. If you tell the president of the United States that if we don't go first, we're going to have more people killed and more people injured, the president's going to go first. That's what he did. That's what the president will always do. He will always put the safety and security of our men and women in uniform and of all Americans before anything else. He's always going to do that, and that's what he did here. In addition to that, I would argue that this threat from Iran, they are hiding behind these missiles and hiding behind these drones. They wanted to reach a point where you couldn't touch them, and then they could do whatever the hell they wanted with their nuclear program. And there is no way in the world that this terroristic regime was going to get nuclear weapons, not under Donald Trump's watch.
So the U.S. attack had nothing to do with Israel. It had nothing to do with Israel.
This operation, there's a general question of why the president gave the green light, and then there's a question of why did it have to happen this weekend? Are you saying it had to happen this weekend because of that Israeli action?
No, this weekend presented a unique opportunity to take joint action against this threat. And we wanted this to have maximum success. We want this operation to be successful at achieving its objectives. I'll repeat the objectives. The president laid them out yesterday. Iran cannot have a nuclear weapon. It cannot have, and therefore it cannot have the things it was hiding behind to have a nuclear weapons program. What are those things? Number one, we are going to destroy their missiles and their missile launchers. We are going to destroy their capability to make these missiles and these launchers, and we are going to destroy their Navy. Those are the objectives, and this weekend, acting at this time, gave us the highest probability of success in achieving those objectives, and as the Department of War will brief you, we are on or ahead of schedule to do that.
So the U.S. attack would have happened no matter what? Would the U.S. attack have happened no matter what Israel's planning?
Oh, I hate the media so much. They're such fucking dogs, dude. They're just like trying to get him to say the right thing so they can report it as a matter of fact that it wasn't Israel.
And that's what you're seeing play out right now. You're seeing it play out right now, and you'll see it in the days to come. We will systematically take apart their missile program. We will destroy their sponsor terrorism, by the way. We will destroy their factories. We will destroy their Navy. Those objectives are going to be met. We're well on our way to meeting them. It will not be easy. There will be a price to pay for it, but that is a much lower price to pay than having a nuclear-armed Iran. I got to go brief these guys. Hold on. Yes. Yes, ma'am.
Secretary, how heavily is the administration leaning into the 2001 AUMF for justification of these strikes?
What now?
How heavily is the administration?
Well, that's not our notification to Congress. Our notification, listen, let me explain to you guys this in simple English. Okay? Iran is run by lunatics, religious fanatic lunatics. They have an ambition to have nuclear weapons. They intend to develop those nuclear weapons behind a program of missiles and drones and terrorism that the world will not be able to touch them for fear of those things. And this is the weakest they've ever been. Now is the time to go after them. The president made the decision to go after them, take away their missiles, take away their Navy, take away their drones, take away their ability to make those things so that they can never have a nuclear weapon. That's why the president made this decision. It was the right decision. And the world will be a safer place when these radical clerics no longer have access to these weapons. You see how they're using them now. Imagine how they would use them a year from now if they had more of these. All right, I got time for one more. Yeah, go ahead.
Brother, we're seing how you're using your weapons now.
Democrats criticize what you said and argue that
the question is several Democrats criticize. They're going to always criticize. We've been doing this for years, guys. They come out. I'll tell you right now, they're going to come out after the briefing and say, we didn't hear anything. We have more questions than answers. You mark my words. But we still do these briefings. Go ahead.
Mr. Secretary, their criticism was on the timeline. They said that Israel is dictating the timeline for the United States.
No,
and as you know, several people on the right have also agreed with that. How would you respond to that?
Well, the United States made a decision. Under the President of the United States made a decision. This is intolerable. Iran cannot have these missiles, cannot have these drones, cannot threaten the world. The President said this is the weakest they've ever been. If we don't hit them now, A year from now, a year and a half from now, no one will be able to touch them, and they'll be able to do whatever they want. And he made a decision to go. And he made a decision to go in a joint operation because it gave us the highest chance of success. And he made the decision to go first because he concluded that we were not going to get hit first. We were not going to absorb a blow from them.
This is such a bad way to fucking posture. It's
because
so,
in addition to costing lives,
it literally doesn't make sense
of our operation. All right, guys, I gotta go.
I don't know why they're still going with it. He should have just said, I misspoke or something. It's so crazy that they are still going, oh, well, Israel was going to go in first, so that accelerated our time. Oh, my God.
Do not want an endless war. The administration doesn't seem to know what it's doing. Every hour there's a different rationale as to why we're doing this. And America wants this president to pay attention to the problems at home, not the problems overseas, particularly when no one has any idea of what the real rationale is. It changes every hour.
DHS talks.
It's over. You can't be one of the most high-profile public figures in the American state and openly go on television and say, yeah, we did this war because Israel wanted us to do it. And then the next day turn around and be like, actually, Israel just accelerated the timeline, but the opportunity to strike was now. You can't do that. Okay? It's over. That's why I say, like, as far as the narrative control or the narrative battle here, it's fucking done. And even the Democrats recognize that the administration is so weak on this that they are also slamming the admin. Now, I don't know why. I don't know why they chose to do this. It was very stupid. It was a remarkable flub. Perhaps one of the most important flubs that has ever happened in American news, okay? Because this is like 80 fucking years of an unshakable allegiance that was delivered a death blow at its weakest moment, okay? At its least popular moment, Marco Rubio came out and fucking straight up said, we accelerated the timeline of the strikes because Israel wanted to strike, and then we struck first because otherwise Israel was going to strike without us, and then Iran was going to attack us. That's it. It's a remarkable admission. Now, I need you to understand something. When I talk about this, for the record, I don't mean that, like, America would never strike Iran if it wasn't for Israel, right? I need you to understand, America clearly doesn't give a shit enough about its own regional ambitions, so much so that they'll go along with this, they'll go along with Benjamin Netanyahu's plans, his desires, okay? So even if in this circumstance, Trump is very malleable, Trump is very pliant, Trump is, complying to the demands of Israel, like, it's clear that if America had its own personal ambitions outside of this, and this divergence was significant enough, they would just say, no, cut it out. We're not doing this shit. So the very fact that they didn't say, cut it out, we're not doing this shit, implies that they also, to a certain degree, agree with it, right? But here it is. Here is yesterday's spectacular failure one more time.
With a clear goal in mind. I haven't
Motherfuckers were literally, they couldn't believe it. They were like, is this real?
got a chance to see a lot of reporting. I don't understand what the confusion is. Let me explain it to you, and I'll do it once again as clearly as possible. Perhaps you'll report it that way. The United States is conducting an operation to eliminate the threat of Iran's short-range ballistic missiles and the threat posed by their Navy, particularly to naval assets. That is what it is focused on doing right now, and it's doing quite successfully. I'll leave it to the Pentagon and the Department of War to discuss the tactics behind that and the progress that's being made. That is the clear objective of this mission. The second question that's been asked is, why now? Well, there's two reasons why now. The first is it was abundantly clear that if Iran came under attack by anyone, the United States or Israel or anyone, they were going to respond and respond against the United States. The orders had been delegated down to the field commanders. It was automatic, and in fact, it bared to be true because, in fact, the within an hour of the initial attack on the leadership compound, the missile forces in the south and in the north, for that matter, had already been activated to launch. In fact, those had already been pre-positioned. The third is the assessment that was made that if we stood and waited for that attack to come first before we hit them, we would suffer much higher casualties. And so the president made the very wise decision.
So you couldn't stop Israel from striking, is what you're admitting. So you just chose to go in with them. Again, who's the big dog in the room? Is Israel controlling America, or is America controlling Israel? You can't come out and say America, the most powerful nation on the planet, literally was goaded into going to war with a foreign adversary at the behest of the client state. You can't do that, okay? You can't fucking do that. Or rather, you can't just come out and say that and then expect people not to go, what the fuck? Especially when there are a shit ton of people who already had this suspicion due to the Biden administration's unlimited support during Israel's genocide in Gaza. Red line after red line after red line withered away people's confidence that the American government was in control of the situation. Slowly but surely, over the course of 2.5 years, as people's attitudes towards Israel shifted into the negative, red line after red line, every single time there was another 10,000, 20,000, 30,000, 100,000 Americans going, wait a minute, who's the fucking big dog in the room? So much so that Donald Trump was able to take advantage of that anger and resentment that people felt towards the Democratic Party and conducting this genocide and win. At the end of the day, can you clarify who you think controls who? At the end of the day, America is the most powerful nation on the planet. If America wanted to fucking stop Israel today, tomorrow, they could do so, and it would take one fucking phone call, okay? That's still the case. The problem is this administration, unlike previous administrations, is infinitely more compromised by Israel, is infinitely more invested in doing the bidding of Israel. The last time America did something that was out of pocket and was not in line with Israel's design was the JCPOA. And Barack Obama was punished endlessly for it. Okay? And then Donald Trump won, and everything changed after that moment. And the reality of the matter is, Joe Biden was also such an ideologically committed Zionist that Joe Biden never reversed the trajectory. Okay? It's that simple. Obviously, I hate this side of it as well. There's definitely influence to push it to the more extremes. Adelson didn't spend $250 million for nothing, but the obvious answer is the premise is false. Israel, for Biden and Trump, provides a bad cop they can blame for these unpopular Middle East wars, is why they both push it. I don't fully agree with Adam Johnson. This is the first time that I don't fully agree with Adam Johnson. I am, there's two different schools of thought here. Okay, you got the Mersheimer method and you got the Noam Chomsky one. No disrespect. Sorry. I'm just saying Noam Chomsky because he's one of the most visible American thinkers that brought up the unsinkable aircraft carrier theory. On the one hand, you got the influence of the lobby, or when pushed to its like most insane conclusions by the David Duke style people, it's ZOG, right? Zionist occupied government. Now, there's truth to both of these theories. And these theories don't work without one another, okay? And I keep trying to explain to people that on the one hand, if Israel wasn't an unsinkable aircraft carrier, Israel would not have been able to create a sophisticated propaganda apparatus that is deeply embedded in the American government, okay? It's that simple. There are those who are ideologically committed to Israel, ideologically committed to Zionism. There are those who see it as a way to expand on America's imperialist endeavors in the region, this grand design that they have that is in line with Israel's ambitions in the region as well. And that's precisely the reason why Israel's been able to overstep over and over again and not be a normal client state. Because Lithuania cannot fucking, blow up like an American military asset and then fucking get away with it, right? So obviously it's both. There is no other client state that is able to do what Israel does with regular frequency in terms of influence peddling, in terms of propaganda in terms of commanding the American government to do certain things in its domestic affairs. Okay? However, the energy that Adam Johnson has here is also correct, because for a lot of right-wingers that say, Zog, 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 it's the Jews, they're using that as a way to abdicate responsibility from the hands of the American state. Okay? They're doing that to say, oh, Jews have the hypnosis beam and they're doing a blackmail operation, and that's why our American WASP leadership is falling in line. Otherwise, they would never go this far. That's also fucking bullshit. Okay? That's also bullshit. And some of these white supremacists will hit that line over and over again in an effort to basically say American exceptionalism is real. The American government wouldn't go this far if it wasn't for, Jewish hypnosis or whatever the fuck they believe. Okay? So that's not also correct. That's incorrect, right? Because if you believe George W. Bush raped and pillaged the fucking Middle Eastern region and wasn't simply a buffoon that signed off on the global war on terror, right? And it wasn't just like Dick Cheney's ambition or petro-capitalist ambition in the region. And George W. Bush was also culpable morally for signing off on all these endeavors. You understand that America cannot wash his hands from this entire endeavor. Okay? This is, at the end of the day, absolutely America's fault. It's absolutely America's fault. But for a lot of people, because they're chock full of American exceptionalism, they can't contend with that reality. They see the devastation that American imperialism causes, but they can't communicate that. They can't understand it because that part of their brain doesn't work. There is no world where an American citizen turns around and says, maybe America is bad. Maybe America is actually bad here. Maybe we are the bad guys. They can't say that to themselves, so they're actively looking to launder America's image. And the best possible way that they can do it is by going, oh, we're a powerful nation. We're trying to do our very best when we're playing the good cop, bad cop thing. But Israel is forcing our hand. Israel is either, using Jewish hypnosis, or they're doing blackmail operations or whatever. They don't want to realize that, like, no, our fucking WASPs and our Catholics in charge also love this kind of death and destruction. They don't give a fuck. They do not care. They do not care about the American soldiers that are out there in the region. They do not care about the assets that get blown up. They don't care because for them, that's economic activity for the military-industrial complex. And this is what I try to explain to people. So it's a little bit of both. It's not just Zog, or it's not just American imperialism, because Israel at the end of the day is a unsinkable aircraft carrier in a resource-rich region, right? It's both. It's both. And it's not Zog necessarily, but you know what I mean. It's like there is definitely a profound amount of influence and a profound amount of propaganda that is pervasive. Zionist propaganda is pervasive in American politics, in institutes of higher learning. Like it's this unconditional allegiance that is baked into the collective consciousness. But if that was real, if the concept of like, if the concept of like Jewish hypnosis or Jewish influence, international Jewry was real, then you wouldn't have so many Jews under the age of 35 actively also petitioning against this kind of thing and getting very mad about it. Okay? If that was the case, Israel wouldn't have to use so much time and effort and money specifically to try to actively brainwash the population into coming to terms with Israel being the most moral nation on the planet. Okay? Did you say Jewry? Yes, international Jewry, organized Jewry. This is like a famous neo-Nazi concept that is becoming more and more. It's coming back into fashion. It's the same old story. Okay, it's the same old story. It's that the international capitalists are obviously not even remotely interested in what happens to the victims of empire, and they will align with anyone and everyone they can get away with to continue in those endeavors. Okay, it's not one religious faction that is dominating the others. It's fucking ridiculous. Yeah, Jewry is a WASP classic when shit starts going south. Exactly. But the problem here for a lot of people is that they just don't have any understanding of imperialism, how it works, and like they don't, in their brains, they can't work it out. Like they just can't comprehend that like America as a unit, as a governing body, is responsible for all this death and destruction, and it's not actually for some good purpose. It's not violence that's taking place and it's bad, but like it's for an overall overarching common good. They can't comprehend. They have no framework for it. There is no anti-imperialism that in the American education for understandable reasons, right? Otherwise, you can't have a fucking pliant, servile cattle base that will support every fucking thing that you say and do. But that's where we're at. It's even the same shit with like Goyim. Like when people are like, I'm offended. Like, come on, brother, get the fuck out of here. Like, yeah, okay, it's Jewish supremacists. It's Jewish supremacists. Like, really? You're going to sit here and be offended in the Western world that a bunch of people in Israel or a bunch of people who are actually Jewish supremacists are calling you Goyim? Really? Like calling you cattle? Come on. Have some fucking decency. It's the same kind of dumb bullshit that people complain about when they're talking about. It's the same kind of bullshit that people are talking about when they're like, oh, men's right. I'm a men's rights activist and misandry is a real problem. Shut the fuck up. At the end of the day, you have to remember who's in charge. At the end of the day, you have to remember who has the power here. Okay?
100%.
America has final say on all of this. So if Donald Trump is getting manipulated, or Donald Trump is being goaded into taking action here, and it's very clear that that's what happened, okay, they could reverse that trajectory. They should reverse that trajectory. Yeah, but that Goy block thing was very funny because of how stupid it was. Yes, of course. I think it's hilarious. Do they have final say? Come on, bro. Yes, brother. Yes, they do. Yes. Of course they do. If you're still to this day saying that Israel is in charge of U.S. politics, which even Jeffrey Sachs, Mersheimer, Finkelstein, Daniel Levy, former Israeli peace talks negotiator, and many, many more experts have said, you're being delusional. No, Israel right now is in charge of American foreign policy. And Israel has been in charge of American foreign policy in the MENA region since Trump won. Like completely. Okay? But that doesn't mean that Israel can always be in charge of American foreign policy. Do you not understand? I am saying that. I am saying that Israel has been in charge of American foreign policy in the MENA region since Trump won. And Joe Biden did not reverse that trajectory at all because he also is an ideologically committed Zionist. Okay? Having said that, however, America could reverse this trajectory at any moment. They could just be like, all right, we're shutting off the fucking money faucet. Fuck you. What happens after that? What happens after that? Do you think Israel gets to do whatever the fuck it's doing without American political cover? America is the superpower here. America is the domineering, hegemonic superpower, and especially the uncompromising and unconditional superpower since the Cold War ended with the dissolution of the USSR. And yes, Sammy Gold is correct on this. If American foreign policy was actually based on Realpolitik, then its number one ally in the Middle East should obviously be Saudi Arabia, not Israel. 100%, this is correct. Because Saudi Arabia and the Gulf states are infinitely more important assets because they cut away at the middleman, the destabilizing factor, because Israel's necessity in the region is to constantly keep those guys in check, right? But at this stage, there is no need for Israel. You could go, bye-bye, Israel. We already have this. We have completely vassalized the Gulf states at this point. There's no like King Faisal situation, right? It's over. It's done. They love getting favorable contracts in the Western world. They love doing sports washing. Bye-bye, Israel. Bye-bye, Tel Aviv should be the normal understanding here, okay? But the reason why that's not the case is because of the pervasive influence of the Zionist lobby, the pervasive influence of like education in institutes of higher learning. This is a very sophisticated propaganda network. It's one that is fucking collapsing in real time, though. Okay? And that's precisely why I say, like, the notion of, like, Zog or Jews control America is fucking idiotic. Because if that was the case, literally overwhelming majorities of Americans would not have entirely changed their attitudes at the behest of Muslims who have been in the crosshairs of American imperialism for the last 30 fucking years. Okay? It's ridiculous.
Well, it's not 100% clear to me, General, and that's not to suggest that I don't support 100% what is happening, nor that I 100% offer my support. I just think I want to ask a couple of critical questions, and I hope you know how much respect I have for your service, and I think it goes without saying to anybody watching how much respect I have for the men making this decision.
You don't have to patronize me. Just ask the question. Go ahead. Come on, ask it.
To be clear, General, I'm not patronizing you. I'm trying to have a very serious conversation in front of the American people. The men making these decisions have my utmost respect. This is less about you than everybody making these decisions. And this is about the American people understanding the investment that lies before them.
Also, the reason why he's asking this as gently as possible is because he's known to blow bubbles on it. That's why. He's known to blow bubbles on Israel. If Israel somehow has compromising leverage on scores of top U.S. Officials for decades, then I don't know, congrats, I guess, because you should probably be running the world if you're this competent and omnipotent. I don't buy into that. It's the right-wing argument that I don't think has much explanatory power. But I think what I'm getting at is it seems like a more pervasive problem than one I have a structural explanation for, which is basically just AIPAC. The explanation is national innocence is a bipartisan religion and gets everyone off the hook. So Netanyahu is the sin eater for all U.S. policy, a role he gleefully embraces, which isn't to say lobby influence isn't powerful, but as you note, it doesn't explain the whole picture. Yes, that's why I'm in between the two different prevailing schools of thought. I don't think that they are, I don't think that either is wrong. I think that one cannot live without the other. Israel doesn't get to have such a sophisticated network of influence that has permeated in American consciousness for the last 80 fucking years without playing the role of a loyal servant in the region as a destabilizing factor in the region that is a resource-rich region that at times could have easily fell into the hands of Soviet influence, especially during the wave of pan-Arabic nationalist movements that were directly aligned with the Soviet bloc. Like, there is no other country that has been able to have this level of penetration in American government and in American collective consciousness as Israel. And there's a reason for that, because no other country has been this important in American imperialism in the oil-rich countries, in the region of oil-rich countries. Okay? But while that is the case, our goal now should be to sever those fucking ties. And we have a unique opportunity now, more than ever before, to demand a severance of those ties, okay? As people are legitimately starting to realize how devastating Israeli influence looks like when it comes to directing foreign policy, and people are genuinely fucking frustrated by it, there is a unique opportunity unlike ever before throughout American history where we can force to sever these ties through the democratic process. And if democracy fails, at that point, you look at other options, right? But if democracy still exists, theoretical democracy still exists in the United States of America, then people have the opportunity, in spite of the incredibly sophisticated mechanisms of propaganda, influence peddling, demands of censorship, you can still overcome that, and you can still get people elected into positions of power that will turn around and say, no, fuck this, we're done with this, okay? That's why I stress the importance of candidates, especially in the midterms right now, okay? Not all of them are great, not all of them are perfect, but this is a very good litmus test. Do you care about this? Do you want to do something about Israel steering the ship, or do you not? Do you not care about the American population? Another admission that Israel is steering the ship.
Exceptional leadership. And you've demonstrated anything but
Okay, I don't care about this right now.
Things, and in fact, Senator, the Israelis are, and I mentioned some of those things, and in fact, Senator, the Israelis are taking the lead. I mean, it's the Israelis who are conducting a great deal of these operations, and it's the Gulf states that are actually conducting a lot of operations as well, and some of our European.
That's bullshit. The Gulf states have no say in this. If they literally had a say in this, I'm not a fan of the Gulf states. If they had any say in this, do you think that they would allow all of the fucking munitions to be expended in the direction of defending Israel, as opposed to their multi-billion-dollar investments they've conducted? That's crazy. The Gulf states literally have not only zero say, they have negative say in this process. Okay? They're not only in the culture, they're getting ass fucked right now. It's ridiculous. Yeah, the Gulf states love getting pummeled into oblivion by Iranian drones and Iranian ballistic missiles, and even have their even have the veil of safety removed entirely. This was a major issue during Formula One. This was a major issue when the Houthis, let's say it was the Houthis and maybe not the Iranians, struck an oil refinery. If you recall, that's always an ever-present threat. What did they do at that point? They said, please stop fucking around with Iran, please.